Okay, let's try again. My name's Scott Bryan. I'm the editor and publisher of the Tribune in Georgian. Tom Canning is our timekeeper, and Jeannie Strait will be assisting in providing paper copies of the questions to the candidates as I read them aloud. Please join me in welcoming our District 180 Republican candidates, the incumbent Stephen Sainz, and the challenger Glenn Cook. Please join me in thanking these men for offering to serve the people of Georgia, House District 180. And please join me in thanking the PSA staff for accommodating our needs and setting up for tonight's free forum. For your audience, please applaud them. For your audience information, the restrooms are located at the back of the room and to the right. To minimize distractions and interruptions, please turn off all cell phone ringers. If you need to take a call, please step outside the room. During tonight's forum, to maximize time for candidate Q&A and to stay within our extremely tight schedule, we will refrain from applause and comment until the conclusion of the 50-minute question and answer period. The questions asked tonight are the product of public input. Some questions are a consolidation of multiple similar inputs from the public. And tonight's Q&A routine will be as follows. The candidates will be provided a written copy of the question as I am reading the question out loud. On the slip of the paper with the question, the candidate will be shown the designated respondent alternating sequence, the allotted time to respond, comment, or rebut. Time allotted will be 1 or 2 minutes for each candidate, depending on a question, answer, or a rebuttal. Some questions will be asked of both candidates, and other questions will be specific to a single candidate. Also, for some questions, the candidates will have the opportunity to offer a comment or rebuttal. Again, all the instructions are on the question page that will be provided to the candidates. At the conclusion of the Q&A period, the audience is, of course, welcome to applaud. And if time allows, the audience and candidates are welcome to converse one-on-one or in groups up until 8 p.m. when we are all asked to leave this fine PSA facility. So, with that, I will begin. The first question is going to go to both candidates, and they will have 2 minutes to respond. Mr. Sainz, in various ways, the public has expressed the opinion that this primary campaign and runoff campaign has been unusually negative, with seemingly irrelevant, nasty innuendos by both candidates about their opponents. We have come to expect that in national campaigns, but not in local campaigns. To some voters, it raises questions about the character and integrity of both candidates. Again, these are not significant, but almost petty allegations. While each of you may have your rationale or campaign advisors telling you to take this approach, it is really not a character trait that most voters want in their district representative. Mr. Sainz, do you understand the voters' concern about the behavior in this campaign and how that may relate to your ability to represent the district? Mr. Sainz, you have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you. First, can you hear me? It's clear there is a lot of interest in this campaign. I'm glad to see we needed more chairs. The fact is that we have a record of success representing Georgia House District 180. We've ran on a positive Republican record. It's how I've carried this district, ensuring that the first major legislation we did was the heartbeat bill, ensuring constitutional carry was brought in Georgia, ensuring Merriam's Law, which is a dangerous sexual predator prevention bill that was a comprehensive reform to our state system after a judicial decision decided Those are the things I'm interested in talking about because, frankly, this race isn't about either of them.
Thank you, Mr. Sainz. Mr. Cook, you'll have the same question, and I'm not going to read the entire thing, but do you understand the voters' concerns about the behavior in this campaign and how that may relate to your ability to represent the district? You also have 2 minutes, Mr. Cook.
Well, first of all, thank you all for coming out tonight. We certainly appreciate your interest in it. It's not only got interest in Camden County, but it's got interest statewide. For the first time in a long time, a lot of money has been spent down here in Camden County to retain a position that should, quite frankly, we shouldn't even be here tonight. An incumbent should not have drawn 3 competitors out. The reason he's spending a lot of money, he's trying to dissuade us from expressing our opinion. Besides that, the negative campaigning, I guess both sides, if you can say that, have gone negative. It's gone really nasty today. I've been compared as a friend of Stacey Abrams, which I find kind of amazing. Today we got the latest. I was followed around by an AP reporter yesterday, and we went to a mailbox, and we got 5 negative campaigns against me. 5 mailers, which is kind of unusual. I don't think I deserve that. I certainly wouldn't send it out attacking Stephen that way. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. And so it's gone negative. I'm tired of it. I know you're tired of it. And so let's just kind of put that behind, and hopefully we can move on to more positive things tonight and discuss issues.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. The next question is for Mr. Cook. Your campaign materials have been relatively silent on your commitment to the Republican Party platform. If elected, you will take an oath to represent your total constituency, not just a few. What steps will you take to ensure fair representation while responding to party expectations? You have 2 minutes, Mr. Cook.
That's a great question. Right off the bat, I was described as an outsider. And as an outsider, why would I be described as an outsider? Because I'm from Glenn County and not Camden County. But let me tell you what, as an outsider, I'm proud to be an outsider if I'm not part of the Sainz machine that's raising hundreds of thousands of dollars against me, who's basically self-supported. I'm also an outsider because I don't send out 4 or 5 mailers a day that goes into your mailbox. So I'm proud to be that outsider. The Republican platform, I consider myself a Reagan Republican. I'm strong on national defense. I believe in individual rights, self-determination, and everyone should have a right to the sanctity of life. So I do believe that. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a liberal from Atlanta. That's certainly not anything. Actually, I called my ex-wife last night, and we went over some things that I was discussing with her, and she laughed at that when I told her I was a liberal from Atlanta. She knew me when I was in Atlanta. I flew for Delta Airlines for 34 years. That's where I worked out of. Saw Decatur change drastically from the small southern conservative town that I moved to the liberal bastion of DeKalb County. So I can promise you I am not a liberal in any stretch of the imagination.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. The next question is for Mr. Sainz. Some of your campaign flyers emphasize how loyal you are to the party platform regarding national policies. Since this questioner is a swing voter not affiliated with either political party, I am far more interested in what you plan to do for this district in the 2025 session for all of your constituents and not just a few. What exactly are you going to do that is not related to the party platform? You have 2 minutes.
Well, I appreciate the question, and I will say this. I believe every single voter is best represented by the Republican platform. The Republican platform isn't for a few individuals. It's for every single person, in my opinion, that believes in conservative government, in efficient government, and in small government. The best testament to the Republican platform I have ever seen was my tenure in the legislature during COVID. It was very clear that one party trusted the individual to make the choices for their family that were necessary and prudent, and the other side trusted more on government and didn't trust their constituency. I've never felt more allegiance to the Republican platform than that moment. But when we talk about the Republican platform, which is why I'm very passionate statewide to ensure that individuals of every group know that we are a party for all. That's why I've been very vocal for the Trump administration, ensuring that he can talk about the illegal immigration issue without detracting anyone, because Hispanic Americans, every kind of American, should be for securing our border. It's pro our public safety, and it's pro ensuring that we follow our nation's laws. Once you decide that our southern border isn't, the laws that behind that shouldn't be followed, then you decide that you can take a house, which is a pandemic in Atlanta that we had to address because of swatting. So to this voter, I'd say you are represented by me, who is very aligned to the Republican platform. Again, we're scored by an independent party as the, not a conservative legislator, but the highest scoring conservative legislator in the state of Georgia. So as far as it comes to those who challenge an individual in office, I can't control that. That's an individual's decision. What I can control is communicating and being very aggressive about telling the individuals in this district what good representation is, showing the results that we have, and I am very passionate about making sure Camden continues to have good, sound, conservative representation. And I'll take a quote from my stepfather, who said, you're humble by your mistakes, but you're very clear about your successes. And we've had many of successes when it comes to the things we've done for the people of Camden County, for South Glenn County, previous to that, before redistricting, and Waycross.
Thank you, Mr. Sainz. The next question is for Mr. Cook. It is admirable that you've knocked on so many doors. However, many issues District 180 faces require getting the state to address projects already in process within city councils, the county commission, or groups like the Joint Development Authority and the PSA here, the Public Service Authority. Yet it appears that you have not attended any meetings in Camden or conferred with mayors or board members to discuss community needs. If chosen in the primary to represent the Republican Party in November, how do you plan to correct this fact-finding omission this summer? Mr. Cook, you have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you. That question is not quite correct. I have met with the county commissioners. I have attended county commissioning meetings. Met with Jim Goodman. I've met with a number of the commissioners, a number of the city councilmen from St. Mary's. I know some of the past council people that have been elected to this community. But let me tell you something. What's not important is the leaders, but it's the people of this county. I'm not here to represent leaders and politicians. I'm here to elect you, to represent you. That's why I'm going to doors. We've gone to 6,000 doors, my wife and I. 6,000. I put 10,000 miles on my truck doing that. So I've been down here listening to you. I don't care what politicians have to say. Politicians, they're not always got the answers, but you do. And that's who I want to listen to, and that's who I'll continue to listen to. I'll continue going door to door after I'm elected. I'm not going to have an office. Your house will be my office, because I'll be there quite often. I promise you that. It's one thing I learned in the military. You take care of your troops, and your troops will take care of you. So that's a very important aspect of my life. I'm going to take care of you. I'll be your voice. I don't back down to take on anybody and anything at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. The next question will be for Mr. Sainz, with an opportunity for a rebuttal by Mr. Cook. Mr. Sainz, you've been very vocal about your support for the party position on the border and the need for Georgia to step in on a national debate. You've also been vocal about your objection to Fani Willis, a legally elected prosecutor in Atlanta who is not in your district. Where do you draw the line between your personal and party opinions when it comes to stepping out of District 180 voter expectations? Mr. Sainz, you have 2 minutes, sir.
I'll tell you who doesn't draw the line. It's criminals in the state of Georgia and across the United States. So I've been very vocal about ensuring we have a broad and consistent public safety network in the state of Georgia. It's why I was a co-signer twice on creating the Prosecutor Oversight Council. Just like judges in the state of Georgia have an oversight council, there should be accountability for prosecutors, both here in the Brunswick Judicial Circuit and across this state, because not enforcing laws in Athens and Clark County affects Camden County when they travel down here. We know that from the law enforcement presence we strongly have on 95. There's a corridor that's been utilized for plenty of trafficking, and we've had a great and successful network ensuring that that crime doesn't seep into our community. But it does require a statewide network. As far as it comes to Fani Willis, I don't think she does her job. I do think she's politicized her office because it's popular with her constituency, and she wants to attack Donald Trump in an illegal and unethical way when she's not prosecuting dangerous criminal felonies, when those felonies can have a direct impact in Camden County. As far as it goes in terms of national debates, I've taken stances both nationally, locally, and in the statewide position, because local issues affect my constituents and national issues affect my constituents. So when it's appropriate, I'll defend the rights and the interests of the constituents of Camden County and South Glenn County, and I'm not apologetic about that. This building is a testament to that. When we talk about elected officials, I'm proud to have a great amount of endorsements by our other elected officials, because I've looked to ensure that we can work together when we can. But when there are several of them against revising the laws of the Public Safety Authority, when money has been stolen from taxpayer dollars, I had no qualms about immediately addressing that and ensuring we had some level of reform immediately, because that's what the district attorney's office sent me from a judicial position of this is what constituents need, and we immediately address that by putting citizens on the board of the Public Safety Authority and by requiring audits and not allowing them to accept taxpayer funds if that audit wasn't done in a timely fashion.
Thank you, Mr. Sainz. Mr. Cook, you have 1 minute for rebuttal.
I'm going to talk real fast on this. 1 minute's not a whole lot of time to rebut that. But one of the big things that we need to look at on border control, I've been attacked as being weak on border, supporting Biden, not supporting Trump, not there when the border needed me. I'm the one-man solution, apparently, in South Georgia. I don't know why Trump doesn't call on me to solve all of his problems. Anyway, what I see is very vital is that we need to disincentivize illegals coming into this state. I was contacted by a senior chief on the base over here the other day that there was apparently illegals coming in here. We can eliminate that by tightening up dual enrollment education in this country. We can take a look at 287G of the Immigration and Naturalization Act, where they deputize local sheriffs to take care of illegals that are coming into this county. And as I said on the last time, we can be like Texas and Florida and ship some of them north.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. The next question will be for you with a rebuttal by Mr. Sainz. Mr. Cook, you'll go first. Using various data sources, on average, a crime occurs every 3+ hours in Camden County and every 2+ hours in Glenn County. Both of you have indicated your desire to do something to reduce the crime rate and protect citizens from criminal activity. What specific legislation would you introduce to reduce criminal activity in Georgia District 180? Mr. Cook, you have 2 minutes, sir.
I'm not a law enforcement officer. We have some fine people back here that could probably answer this question better than I can. But one of the things that we need to do is tighten up prosecution. And as a lawyer, I know that the court systems often lets out people that should not be let out onto the streets. We need to tighten up our laws to create, obviously, to keep them equitable and fair, but also to put away people that shouldn't be out on the streets. We have a big issue here that I'm involved with in Rotary and human trafficking. That's not being addressed. It should be addressed. It's a very big problem, and people, we have our head in the sand at this time about that. I think we need to address that. It's actually a big problem. One of the biggest sporting events in the country, the Masters, is also the second biggest human trafficking event in the country, which is really surprising. Apparently, last time they had the golf tournament on St. Simon's, some human trafficking was going on over there. They caught the guy ordering specific young women over the telephone while his wife and his children were in the room. So we need to crack down on that. I think overall, what we need to do is incentivize our police. We need to give them more money. We need to give them better training. Firearms, they need to get more firearm training, I believe. Just a lot more education on our behalf and support the police. We need to make sure that they are recognized for the fine job that they're doing for our county right now.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Mr. Sainz, you have 2 minutes to respond, sir.
I appreciate the question. My top legislative push in the next legislative session will be for the statewide retirement plan that would include local officers. We've done a great job when it comes to our state law enforcement agents to increase the pay considerably to compete with other states, and we're currently on a top initiative to put our trooper levels to the point where we're at parallel with South Carolina, which is a fraction of our population. But the fact is, our local law enforcement enforce the majority of our state code. They say, again, I'll say our local law enforcement enforce the majority of our state code. And when I was doing my recertification training at the sheriff's office, I had a pretty good supervisor at the time. But when we were doing the recertification training, one of them asked me, why do we not have a statewide law enforcement retirement plan? And the reason is, there is no good reason for it. It's the best return on an investment that we can make as a state is to ensure that local law enforcement have access to a statewide plan to where they can retire at a fair age, and they're not penalized for going to a different agency if their family has moved. And we have the way that those retirement plans work, the more people in it, the more efficient it is, the better return they get, and the better return for a taxpayer in investing it in, instead of fractionalizing that in a city by city or a county by county process. So that will be the top thing I address, because we've done a great job in terms of our state law enforcement agency, but we have not addressed on a state level the majority of our law enforcement activity that comes from a local level. And I think that's the best use of taxpayer dollars, both in Camden County and everywhere else when it comes to our public safety infrastructure, is ensuring we have a professional force, an attractive profession to be in, because we have great people already, but we shouldn't penalize them for the vocation that they chose, in ensuring that we are kept safe. And it's great to address the court system. There's plenty of faults. I was glad to make sure we restricted the use of signature bonds, which is basically you put your name on a piece of paper and you're allowed to leave.
Thank you, Mr. Sainz. The next question is for Mr. Sainz without a rebuttal. Your website states that you believe the District 180 representative should be a citizen legislator and not a career politician. Yet you have served 6 years and are seeking another term and appear to be heading toward becoming a career politician. What did you actually mean by that statement, and how do you avoid the label? When will you know if you are a, quote, career politician, end quote? You have 2 minutes, Mr. Sainz.
You know, careers are made up of you go from one thing to the next and you try to increase your name. I'm the only candidate in this race that hasn't left a position I've been elected to. I've been proud to serve every term in the state legislature that I've been elected to, and I take that dedication of a voter to give me that trust very seriously. I've had opportunities to run for other office. I have zero interest to ever run for another office. I love the people of Camden County. It's why I got into this race, because we had issues with the representative that I ran against by not getting a technical college appropriated, the largest populated county without a brick and mortar technical college. And the main reason wasn't because we didn't need one, because it didn't make sense, but because our representation in Atlanta was more interested in making headlines than representing the people of this county. So I'm very passionate about representing Camden County. I'm not passionate about being in the legislature. I'm passionate about the people in this county that I've grown up with and been proud to live with and go to church with, and I appreciate their trust in me, and this is a way to give back. It's not a career I'm interested in. It's not something I'm looking to go to any other office. I'm proud to be the state legislator of Camden County. I'm proud to have made it back whole. Before, when I got District 180, it was 70% Camden and had Waycross. It now is all of Camden County. It includes Exit 29, which shares Camden County values in a great way, and Jekyll Island, of course, which is a beautiful island that parallels Cumberland Island greatly with government control. So I appreciate the thought in terms of what a career politician is, but the fact that in Georgia, we are citizen legislators. You go up for 3 months out of the year. You're supposed to do your job there in terms of passing sound conservative legislation, which we've done every single session I've been up there. And then you come back home and you are a private citizen amongst all your neighbors and all the individuals that are here. And that's frankly the better part of the year. But I take the information I get the 9 months out of the year to make sure we have sound conservative representation vocalized in the district, in a district that is farthest away from the state capital out of any district in the state of Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Sainz. The next question will be for Mr. Cook. You will have 2 minutes, and there will be time for a 1-minute rebuttal from Mr. Sainz. Mr. Cook, in one of your campaign flyers, you state, promote environmental conservation initiative to protect and preserve the district's natural beauty and coastal areas. How does this objective mesh with the concerns Camden County officials have about DNR's continued removal of valuable land for economic development for conservation purposes? Camden has already given up 33,000 acres as a result of state unilateral decisions in this regard. You have 2 minutes, Mr. Cook.
Sometimes you get a question that you don't have an easy answer to, and this is one of those. I'm not real familiar with the DNR and its confiscation of 33,000 acres of land in this state, but it's something I would take a good close look at. What I do know is that H.R. 370, which Mr. Sainz signed on to, called the Wetlands Rehabilitation Act, was attempting to remove 10% of these natural wetlands in this area. And it was kind of a sleight of hand. What he was trying to do was use a king's grant given back in the 1700s to people, throwing off 200 and some years of equitable law in the state of Georgia and turning it over to the Department of Property and to allow them to make those decisions about who gets that land with a minimum background of title searching. So that's very concerning. Wetlands are very important to this part of our country. I got elected to the Satilla River Soil and Water Conservation Commission 2 years ago. We not only look after timberland and farmland, but we also look after wetland. People don't realize the biodiversity of a wetland. Really concerned about, and Mr. Sainz will look at this too, I think he'll confirm it, carbon sequestration and how we sell that off and trade it off when we build roads. Wetlands provide as much carbon sequestration as the forest in South America. So every acre that we destroy here, we're destroying carbon sequestration, which is very, very vital to life on Earth.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Mr. Sainz, you have 1 minute for a rebuttal.
Well, I'm very familiar with the 33,000 acres that have been taken from Camden County and made into non-taxpayer land. I've met with the county commission and DNR 2 weeks ago about it. Even though I'm running for a re-election, being elected and serving my district is more important and will always be more important. As far as it comes to the King's Grant bill, proud that was brought up. It might be okay if you live on Jekyll Island to have the government own the land from under your house, but it's not okay with me. The fact is that King's Grant legislation was a private property legislation. Those owners are already recognized as owning the property. This simply allows them to be recognized when it comes to mitigation credits. Those mitigation credits that are necessary for our area of the state to be utilized, they're able to restore those wetlands and sell those mitigation credits for projects like expanding the 17 bridge when it was needed for DNR to expand that bridge so that school children weren't left stranded in North Camden County because we closed a bridge instead of mitigated that project and had a lane bypassing it. So I'm proud of supporting that King's Grant legislation. I plan to continue to do so, and I will ensure that when it comes to Camden County, we are an attractive space to live and buy land.
Thank you, Mr. Sainz. The next question will be for you for 2 minutes, and then Mr. Cook will have a 1 minute rebuttal. Mr. Sainz, you've taken great pride in supporting the reduction of state income tax for working Georgians. What are your plans in 2025 to help those retirees on fixed income who do not benefit from the legislation this year? You have 2 minutes, Mr. Sainz.
One item that I'd like to take point that we were able to successfully pass, and unfortunately it did become a hazard of partisan antics, was the local legislation that myself and Senator Hodges introduced out of the request from the city of St. Mary's to introduce a reduction in the home exemption for senior citizens in St. Mary's. We should do that for every community, and I strongly support and had mentioned to every elected official in every city and county that we should do that. The reality is a lot of citizens and families in our community are on a fixed income. Unlike Atlanta, where you might get bonuses or reductions as the economy goes up and down, our hardworking families are largely dependent on employers like TRF who don't modify their salaries very quickly. So when the dollar means less in our economy, there's less to go around in Camden County when it comes to paying your grocery bills and doing and living life. So I've been proud to make that a priority. We've slashed our state income tax to our historic low, and we've also doubled our tax incentive for child dependents. That's a major move for a state that's already the 11th lowest state in terms of citizen tax burden. But anything we can do to ensure that more money is kept in the pockets of Camden County and South Glenn County residents is something that I'll support, and I've been proud to support and have a great record of success in doing so.
Mr. Cook, you have 1 minute for rebuttal, sir.
Well, I agree with Mr. Sainz on most of that. There's not a whole lot of difference between me and him on tax reductions and allowing you to keep your money in your pocket. I would have probably pushed a little harder as a representative. Not only do we go down to I think we're down to 5.39% of taxes now, going down to 4.99, and we'll compare that or make it comparable to corporate taxes at the same time. He's right about giving credits for kids, even unborn kids. Now you can get a $2,000 deduction for even unborn, so that's a step in the right direction. But I would have pushed a little harder. I think Florida and Tennessee are prime examples of how you can function very effectively without a state tax.
Thank you, sir. This next question will be for Mr. Cook for 2 minutes with a 1 minute rebuttal from Mr. Sainz. Mr. Cook, during your campaign, you have invited the public to, quote, embark on a journey toward a brighter future for District 180, where every voice is heard, every resource cherished, and every community uplifted, end quote. That's fancy rhetoric. How do you plan to accomplish this as only one of the 180 men and women who were elected attempting to bring home the bacon for their respective districts? You have 2 minutes, Mr. Cook.
Glad somebody's reading my website. That's pretty important. How do I plan on doing that? Just exactly like we're doing right now. We're going to get out and go to people, get your ideas. We're all going to work together on this. It's not about me. It's about you, what you need. And I'll be the voice. I'll stand up to the voice. I've stood up to power my whole life. I don't mind taking your concerns to anyone in Atlanta. Apparently, I have really good connections in Atlanta, so I'll be happy to go up there on your behalf and stand up on and be your vocal advocate up there. How do I plan on doing that? There's a lot of things we could go down. Business development. We could incentivize the taxes here. Education is extremely important. There's a disparity in this county. And I tell you, going to 6,000 doors, I didn't just hit Kingsland. I just didn't hit St. Mary's. I've hit every aspect of this county. I've been in places that probably shouldn't have been in, but you learn from them too. You learn from everybody. That's just how I am. I want to listen to everyone's voice, the poor, the mighty, the rich. We all have the same thing in mind. We want to have a happy family. We want to have a healthy family. We want to put food on our tables. We don't want to have to worry about where money's coming from and where it's going. That might be rhetoric to some, but it's not to me. It's very important that we all are uplifted in the same boat, and we do that economically.
I think we've done a great job of a record of success, but I think it's also important to talk about what we'll do. And you're right, this campaign has lengthened on for some time now. I think we're both very well aware of that. And I will say Mr. Cook has done a great job. He's a hard worker. Going to citizens' doors is crucial because my favorite quote about being a legislator is you don't legislate for the folks at the banquet halls. You legislate for the folks at the ball fields who might be too busy to contact your office, definitely too busy to drive a 5.5-hour drive to Atlanta, but their needs are crucial too. And the one way that you truly understand and empathize and know those needs is going door to door and talking to them. I've been proud to do that every time I've run for re-election, but that's a reconnection to those individuals that I know, not a first meet. And I'm proud to know the people that I represent very well, and that's indicative in terms of the appropriations we've gotten for Camden County, whether it be the technical college campus that we've expounded, whether that be working with the women's club in Woodbine to ensure we had a appropriation for the revitalization of the county library.
Thank you, sir. Next question is for Mr. Sainz for 2 minutes and 1 minute rebuttal from Mr. Cook. Sainz, as a triple A bonded state, do you believe the Georgia legislature should incorporate a rainy day fund for spending on added services? Does the constitutional limit need to increase?
That's a great question. I didn't serve during the recession, but I saw its effect as a citizen of Camden County. We reduced the hours that our school children were in school because we had to furlough our teachers. We had to drastically reduce our state government because we did not have an adequate rainy day fund. There's plenty of needs. I serve on both appropriations and on Ways and Means. Appropriations spends taxpayer dollars. Ways and Means collects it. And what I do in Ways and Appropriations is say no more than I say yes, because saying no might not feel good to the individual asking, the special interest asking for a specific need, but if it doesn't meet a very clear and high threshold of a return on investment to our Camden taxpayers, then it's going to be on the backs of further reducing our state income tax and further reducing our total tax liability. When we talk about a no income tax state, I support it, but I don't want it to be on the backs of citizens paying sales tax or citizens paying tax in another way. So the way I look at our tax structure is at a 360 viewpoint. Are we reducing the total tax burden of the citizens in District 180? And I've been proud of a very successful record of reducing the total tax burden of our citizens.
This is not even going to take a minute because I'm not really familiar with that, so I'm not going to give you an answer. I promise that I'll get into it and look into it. There's a lot of complicated issues here. When you're talking about constitutional limits, it's probably not something very easy to change in the state of Georgia. Rainy day funds for spending on services is something that really needs to be considered. There's a lot of services that are not provided now. Healthcare, we need to look into that. Mental health care is very vital. So I'd be going out on a limb making a remark on that.
Thank you. So we are now to our last question. Cook will go first. As the challenger in this race, why should voters consider the best Republican candidate against a Democratic opponent in this November election? You have 2 minutes, Mr. Cook.
Our Democrat opponent is in the back, sitting back there, and I appreciate him coming out. I appreciate his service to our country. If you've not had a chance to meet him, he's got a great story. But anyway, why I feel that I am the best Republican candidate in this race, I have spent my life in service to others. I didn't start out of college and get elected to a position. I went into the military after that, after college. I went to Wake Forest University, got a biology degree, and I worked hard there. It wasn't easy. I had to take out loans. I got scholarships. My parents weren't rich. Wake Forest is a very expensive school, if you don't know. Right now, it's about $82,000 a year, which is incredible. Wasn't that when I went there. But I was a resident advisor there. From there, I went into the Navy. I served 10 years flying off aircraft carriers. I was involved in Libya and Lebanon wars. Leadership positions. You don't just fly in the Navy. You have collateral duties also. I was a division officer, got to know how to deal with men and problems. And while you're underway, I got to fly Admiral Tuttle around a lot in the Mediterranean. Bob McFarland, who was the national security advisor, I got to fly him around quite a bit during the Lebanese crisis. So I learned a lot about leadership, about how to work with people. Master's in Science and Administration while I was in the Navy. I applied that when I was adult, worked for 34 years. I was not only a pilot at Delta, but I was fortunate enough to work for Vice President of Operations as a supervisor. I overlooked pilot and their problems and the issues with them. While I was at Delta, I went to night school for 4 years, got a law degree. I was fortunate enough to do that. I've applied that throughout my life, working mostly pro bono with people, giving people legal care that could not afford it. So what I am asking is that I use my experience, which is extensive, to work for the people here. I know I can solve problems. I'm a listener. I want to be your voice. I want to be an advocate. I want to be your representative for District 180.
Mr. Sainz, this will be the last question for you, and we'll have 2 minutes to respond. Incumbents usually have several advantages in a race, but they also have the disadvantage of having voters question their decisions or lack of action regarding an issue they care about. What do you think your advantages and disadvantages are in asking voters to re-elect you to another term? You have 2 minutes, Mr. Sainz.
Well, I partially disagree with that question. His only advantage is if you have a record that you can be accountable to the voters that are re-electing you. And in our company, we do employment evaluations at the end of the year. You look at the job that's been done and you look and see if the satisfaction and objectives you signed on to have been met. And I'm very confident that the objectives we've signed on to in my first re-election and every election I've had in this district have been met and will continue to be met. When it comes to ensuring that what is the deficits of representing House District 180, geographically we are again the farthest away from the state of Atlanta. That means that the capital individuals know our needs less, and that also means that when I'm up there, it is a little more difficult to meet in person with individuals. We've bypassed that by making sure there's a need while I'm up there. I don't mind having a phone call or having a Zoom interview. I don't mind talking on the phone or coming back if I need to, and go into session. I've done plenty of drives at midnight to go back up to Atlanta so I could attend a function down here, go to a city council or a county commission meeting. But when it comes to advantages, I'm very proud of the record we have. I'm proud of being a citizen-oriented legislator in Camden County, and we're going to continue to do so. We're going to continue to reduce our state income tax, fight for our gun rights like we've done with constitutional carry, and ensure that our border is kept secure, and we do everything in our state government that has the power. I'm glad we agree on the dual enrollment needing to be closed. I'm the only legislator who dropped a bill on dual enrollment being closed. Camden County High School was the top user of dual enrollment, and when the state reduced the ability to use it, there was a loophole left. We have to provide a free and equitable education, a basic education to every resident. But what we shouldn't do is penalize legal residents in this state by leaving a loophole of not verifying a residency when you're paying for a college credit 3 times, because the state pays the school, the college, and the quality basic education formula when they're there. So that's an essential thing. I dropped the bill, and I plan to reintroduce that bill early in session after we verify that was a true and legitimate issue.
Made it, guys. A couple notes real quick. Early voting continues tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Camden County Annex in Kingsland and the Government Services Complex in Woodbine. Election day is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday at your regular polling place. To learn more about Camden Votes, the organization that put on this forum, you can visit camdenvotes.weebly.com. Lastly, please give a round of applause to these 2 candidates for taking the time to not only be here for this forum, but being willing to serve. Doors close in 20 minutes. Y'all have a great night.
Talk back here. I'll talk with you back here.